Hi everyone! Welcome back to this week's episode of Podcast J. As you can tell, my voice is still a little absent from my very crazy weekend that I had. Welcome back to my unfiltered diary. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am an independent girl, as you know, in my early 20s. On this podcast, I share my very best advice, my personal journey, life experiences, some juicy stories, and I like to touch on a whole bunch of topics. And I'm probably the most unorganised person in the world. How are you doing today? Today, I wish my voice was back. I've been trying to record this all week, and then I thought, keeping it a very close call on Wednesday, I get my stats throughout the week for previous podcast episodes, and I'm not really sure why, but my listeners dropped by half. And I know people say don't watch the numbers, but it definitely makes you feel a little bit like shit. So I thought maybe it's because I haven't promoted it enough. I've been trying to take a step back from the social media side because I just feel like it was too much to keep people involved. So I took a little step back, and obviously I know I haven't posted a ton. However, that is what the podcast is for, I guess. So I'm going to give you an update of my week. On Friday, me and Alex went out for breakfast with his mum. It was so nice. We went to that patisserie Valerie. The fry-up is insane there. Like, you have to go. It's the nicest breakfast ever. So that was really nice having like a date with his mum. We all had a nice catch-up, a nice chat. It's really nice to be with someone that's so involved with their family. Just because if you listen to this podcast, you know I'm not very involved with my family. And I think it's quite a strange subject to touch on when it comes to like dating, because a lot of people think it's like a necessity, like, oh, it's weird that you're not close to your family, or that's still your mum, blah, 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 blah. Like, I get it. I do get it. Like, maybe some people think it's like a red flag, but I'm just saying my partner accepts it and understands how I feel about my family, hence why I do not get him involved in my family and I don't spend a ton of time with them. On Friday, after we went out for breakfast, every time Alex has a show, he always gets like new USBs. It's just a ritual he does. I totally get it. Some people would say, why don't you just use the same USB? If you do the same thing he does for a living, you'll probably understand as to why he does that. Not everyone does it, but he loves to change the USB every single time. He says to me, it's just to be on the safe side. I ordered him like a ton of them off Amazon because they were cheaper. And they all come in silver instead of like black and red. And he was not happy about that. So he went and bought new ones. I mean, there's probably nothing wrong with them, but I don't know. That's not what I do for a living. And that's just something he prefers. So anyway, not the reason why we went to Curry's. Well, it is the reason we went to Curry's, but it's not the story I'm trying to tell you. So we went into Curry's, and obviously he brought his mum in. I was like, let's go browse. And Alex just bought his mum a laptop. I was like, look at you treating your mama. It was the sweetest thing. She looked so like emotional, grateful, happy. It was just the nicest moment ever. Because it was like a surprise as such, and it was just really, really nice. And the first thing she sent me on the weekend of her using the laptop is that she can open up his SoundCloud and listen to it like that. I could have actually melted or cried. Like, it was so fucking adorable. I love that woman. Oh, why did I clap? I always ruin my own podcast by all these fucking things I've got to edit out, and now I can't edit that out because I talked over it. You know what I'm saying? Anyway. And then not only did he treat his mum to a laptop, it was just the whole day was like a movie moment. Because then we got in the car after breakfast, and then his tune come on Radio 1 at like midday. So then his mum was like, oh my God, what a moment. And it was just so fucking adorable. So that was just, I'm saying it like, I don't think I'm really giving it the justice it deserves, but it was such a good moment for his mum to like be involved with that in that day. So it was just so fucking sweet. I wish I could explain the emphasis. It's one of them moments where you wish you sort of videoed it to catch the moment, but even a video wouldn't have done justice. You know what I mean? Like so many people these days, they just get their phones out at everything that makes them smile or entertains them because they're like, oh my God, I want to capture this moment, because you can't quite explain a moment unless people see it or feel it. But even a camera doesn't do it justice. Like when you go on holiday and you see like an insane view and you take a picture and you think, well, that picture doesn't even look like what I saw with my own eyes. You know what I mean? You know what I mean. Anyway, so Friday, okay, Alex had 4 shows this weekend. 4. There was so many. It was insane. So Friday, after we had the breakfast and he sorted out his USBs, we drove down to Cardiff. So that's like around about 3-hour drive. I think it took us slightly longer, but it wasn't too bad. And Alex didn't check his email correctly, so he actually went to the wrong place in Cardiff, but luckily it wasn't too far. It was really funny because he's been to Cardiff before and he was like, oh, we should go down to the pier to have like dinner. And I was like, don't you want to, because we only had like 2 or 3 hours to his show, and you never know whether a restaurant's going to be quick service or like slow. You don't know whether you're going to want starters and then mains or dessert. So we just try and get it done so that he's got like an hour leeway before his show, or at least half an hour. And I was like, well, why don't we just eat first, since we're literally in a high street full of food and bars, so we'll just do that. And we found this really nice Italian restaurant. I think it was called like Giovanni's. So we went in there, and on the walls was like all these famous people. And then the waitress knew who Alex was. Like she was like a fan, because she asked what we were doing that evening, and we were like, oh, we're going to a drum and bass event. She's like, oh, I love drum and bass, and she was talking to us about it, and we were like, do you know Vibe Chemistry? And she's like, oh my God, my boyfriend would be so jealous of me right now. Like, it was just a really sweet moment. And Alex just isn't one that likes to brag, so it was quite sweet that she even knew who he was and stuff like that. It's a very surreal world these days. The same thing, actually, I don't know if I mentioned this on the pod before. One time we were actually drinking in our local pub across the road from my flat, and the waiter there actually said, oh my God, your Vibe Chemistry. And we were just like, we didn't even speak about drum and bass. We were like, how did you know? Like, it was just insane. Because like I always think like with singers, you sort of remember their face, but with producers, you remember their sound, if that makes sense. Like when you listen to a new song, you know the sound, but then there's so many artists that I have met, like where me and Alex have gone to shows, and I didn't know they looked like that because I just never pictured who they were. Like I never thought, I wonder what they look like, you know? You just know their sound. Anyway, moving on. So dinner was very nice and bougie. We had the lushest Italian meal. We have actually become like, when I used to go for dinner before, like with my friends or something, I never ever used to get starters. But Alex, he loves having lots of selection, and I love it. He gets like garlic bread, olives. I never used to like olives, but since we've been eating in nice places, they actually taste nice. Like, I can't remember where it was. We got olives once and they weren't that nice, but yeah. Alex likes the finer things, so we get the finer stuff. So it's very nice indeed. And I actually love it when they put like the little garlic cloves in there and no one else eats them. I actually love raw garlic. I'm a little bit of a fucking weirdo actually, but I still do this, but nowhere does it. So the only place that does this is Morrison's, okay? You can't find them anywhere else, and they're in the smallest jar in the world now. But you can buy garlic cloves, and I can just eat them out the jar. I know, it's a bit disgusting, but I fucking love it. It tastes so nice. And people think I'm a fussy eater. No, I just like things you don't like. Just saying. So after our meal, we went to Alex's show, and it was the coolest place ever. The place was called The Vaults, and it's in an old bank in Cardiff. And you know how I said he wanted to go to the pier, well, like near the pier, to eat. What's really funny is when we couldn't find the actual... we searched up the address, and we actually found out that it was there. It was well close to that. So after all that, we could have eaten over there. What a melon, putting in the wrong postcode. So that place was really cool. Every show we go to, I've actually started wearing his ear protectors. Like, I feel like where my ears are like used to all of the bass and the loud like vibrations, that doesn't make sense. It makes sense to some people, I think. But my fucking eardrums have started flapping, right? And it starts hurting sometimes. So I actually been putting ear protectors in. And something I didn't know about ear protectors is that you can actually hear what people are saying with ear protectors in. You know, like when you're in a rave or in a club and you can't hear what someone's shouting at you. When you have ear protectors in, you can hear everything. Mental. Yeah, definitely recommend that to protect your ears. The crowd was so wild, though. One of the fans came up to me and he was like, "Oh, do you work for him?" I was like, "Oh, no, he's my partner." And he was like, "Oh, my God, you're so lucky. I would marry him and I'm not even gay." And I literally just burst out laughing. I was like, "You're the sweetest person ever." And then when he finished his set, I just felt like so like thrilled because all these people just wanted to meet him, see him, and we just had to like obviously he said hello and stuff, all that, but he would have loved to have stayed, but he had a show straight away afterwards. So within 5 minutes, we literally I had to just be like, "I'm really sorry, everyone." I had to just take him. And then we drove all the way down to Leicester. So we had a 3-hour drive from 12 till 3. So we were like almost 5 to 10 minutes late just because I took a wrong turning on the motorway. But I don't think... It only said it added 2 minutes. Alex was like, "No, it said it added 10. I don't think it did. But we agreed to disagree on that one. We agreed to disagree. Anyways, it's because, right... So, since Alex got his new car, he's got automatic, it has cruise control, and it's a lot easier and less tiring to drive than my manual 10-year-old motor. I love my car, but since I've been doing this driving job, I'm like, "Babe, since I do the driving, can I be put on your insurance just for the shows?" And he was like, "Okay." And it only cost us like 20 quid to put me on as a named driver. So yeah, and I got way less tired, way less exhausted, because one day we had a show, like when we had 2 shows in a night, and I struggled a lot. Like I had to keep stopping and doing star jumps and shit. So I don't want that to happen again, because that was actually really scary. Just because I've never in my life feel my eyes get so heavy when driving, and I thought, "Oh my God, Alex knows," like he was kept checking up on me. He knows I'm a deep sleeper. Once I fall asleep, we're fucked. So, like driving his car now completely prevents that, which is really nice. And then we got to Leicester, and his friends were like hosting this event where they like, you know, all have a set and stuff. So that was really exciting, and he had a good show there. I mean, I feel like shows earlier and shows later are so different, because earlier shows, people, you know, have not long been drinking, so everyone's having a good time. And then when it gets to like 3, 4, 5 in the morning, people are either really exhausted or they're really involved. And there's literally no medium. Like, you've got the fans at the front who are like screaming, loving it, who are so like not tired. And then you've got other people that are, you know, that still want to be there to watch the performance, but they're so tired because it's 3, 4 in the morning. And I feel those people. I feel ya. You people, you soldiers. Because I'm getting old now. And I used to be that person that was like 8 o'clock in the morning, still wanting a rave. Now it gets to 1 o'clock in the morning and I'm like, I just want to watch Alex's show and go to bed. And then I feel bad because he doesn't want to leave me alone. Like, as in, he doesn't want to leave me to just go back to the hotel. But now I'm just like, if you're having a good time, you stay out, I'm going to the hotel. And he's like, are you sure? You sure you don't want me to take you? Because you know, he doesn't want me walking around at night. So yeah, I'm just an old woman inside of a little girl's body. Back to what I was saying. So yeah, that the Cardiff and Leicester show was crazy. Then the next day we went for breakfast in Leicester, and I saw like a protest there, right? So I saw a protest, and it was about like the New World Order, about the vaccines, about the children, like being, you know, all the bad stuff in the world. I don't want to get too in depth, just because I don't know whether I don't want to give out my beliefs without having like a whole understanding and evidential backstory for my listeners. So if people are interested in what I think, please let me know. I'll make episodes about it. But people like to label it conspiracy theories. Now, the protest I went and see, I strongly believe a lot of things they were doing, right? But then this woman came up to us, and this is why I get so annoyed with some protesters, because I think they're missing the point in some ways. Like, someone come up to us and was like, you know, I'm invested in everything they've put up about like the new digital currency and, you know, basically a social fucking credit system, which is just wrong. But then this woman was like to me and Alex, "Are you vaccinated?" And we were like, "No." And she was like, "Oh, good, don't get it, it'll kill you." And I'm like, fucking hell. Is that what you're telling people? Like, you can't try and encourage people to open their mind and open their eyes and open their ears and actually try and learn something and actually become more aware of the freedoms in their life that could be taken away when you're like, yeah, that's going to kill you. That's not how to go about it. There are risks involved in everything, right? And I have very strong beliefs about so many things. But telling someone that's going to kill them is a bit fucking dramatic. Anything can kill you. It's like when people say, oh, McDonald's gives you cancer. Oh, sunbeds gives you cancer. I think everything, if you take it in high volumes, that can do that, you know? So it's not very nice. People just, yeah, that's not what she should be doing. She should be like, if you should try this to try and like help it out, or you should be aware of the risks. Like, have you found this information online? Like, when people ask me my beliefs about it, I usually say, like, I'm not vaccinated. However, you know, if it gets approved in a few years' time and I can still read the documents about it, I will open my eyes to it. However, I'm not a fucking guinea pig. I'm not an experiment. I've got my own health issues to fucking worry about. I don't want to worry about something that's not currently affecting me. You know? So the reason why I feel that way as well is because there are documents online that you can find. If you go on the government website, it's gov.uk, and you search up the yellow card scheme, they used to put out a weekly report. I haven't checked it for a long time. I only checked it like a couple of weeks ago, and I hadn't checked it for like a long time before that. And the statistics haven't hugely changed from a year ago, which makes me think they might not be keeping on top of it, but I don't know. Like, as soon as it went like online and everyone started sharing, like, go read the yellow card scheme about COVID, the vaccinations, etc. Because they are two separate things. Whether you've like had the illness and whether you've been vaccinated, they were both in the same document, which to me doesn't really make a ton of sense, because you'd think they'd be in separate documents because they're separate things. Like, anyway, I know that doesn't make sense to some people, but it's just my beliefs. Anyway, so you go on there and you can find a weekly report, and you can find out fatalities, you can find out injuries, you can find out symptoms, and then even like the other day, they actually changed one of the new documents to say that Pfizer vaccines can't be given to women breastfeeding, which I know when my friends were pregnant during the pandemic and they were giving out the vaccines, their midwife said, even if you want to get vaccinated, wait until you've had your child. Like, wait. Because being pregnant, there is a ton of health risks to your life, and they don't want you putting things in your body that can affect your pregnancy. So that's also why because there wasn't enough evidence. Whereas now, one of the vaccines, they've actually said, yeah, don't do that. Probably don't. But then again, it's also a huge experiment. And follow the graphs, the statistics and the documents. They're usually like PDFs. And you can find a lot of information about it. And so people say like, oh, you're just a conspiracy theorist. Me. Am I, or do I just do a lot of research? You know, I don't say you should do this, you should do this. I just explain why I feel the way I feel when I shouldn't have to. It's just the world we live in now. You know, we just explain why we do what we do. Some people are open-minded and want to hear it, and some people are just like, no, your opinion's wrong. And I'm like, all right, believe what you can believe, innit? I mumbled that so much. I was like, believe what you want to believe, innit? But I was like, meh. So yeah, that's what annoyed me about that little protest, because the speakers were saying like some real shit, you know? This guy was saying, I've got a court date on, I think it was some day in October, where he's taking like some of these huge elites to court. And he said, and the reason I got to this point is because I kept turning up to their front door. Whether or not he's going to court over harassment, or of what he said. So he said that he had issued, I can't remember what the word was, but he issued something to the person who opened the door. And that way, he's now taken him to court. Thing is, you have to wait for these things to play out to see if people are telling the truth, because there's so many people that lie. But at the same time, so does our fucking government. So let's be honest. Anyway, moving on from that. Moving on, I don't want to bore you. But yeah, Friday night was fucking wild. The place was so fucking sweaty that the walls were wet. Like, I leant on it and my hair was dead straight. I leant on it and my hair was curly. And I've not got proper curly hair. It was just where the sweat soaked into my hair. It was disgusting. However, we all love a fucking sweaty rave. You know? That's why I get sweaty. Everyone's having a good time. Everyone's letting loose. Leicester is really good. And then we went out for a lovely breakfast the next day. Got a nice iced lolly on a sunny day while we watched the protest for a little. And then we made our way home and binge watched Ozark, because the final half of the season was out and I was fucking buzzing. And we watched it, well, most of it. And we left like 3 episodes for Monday when we came back, because Sunday we had a super exciting day. So Alex thought today would be a better day because the show's a bit more spread out. To bring our friends with us. So we brought Evie, Charlie and Jacob with us to the shows. So we went to Jungle Cakes first. So we drove down to Bristol, and the postcode took us to an industrial estate. So I found the long queue, parked up, we got in, and basically, when you're an artist, you just tell the security, I'm an artist, is there a different entrance? How do I get in? Do I need to speak to someone? I usually am just like, does he have a liaison or something? And someone just came, a liaison came down, gave us all wristbands, put us in the green room, and was like, I'm going to go get your rider. And we could see the stage from the green room, which was really cool. They had a balcony over the stage. And we went up there, and then I was like, maybe this is a multi-genre place. It did look a bit Jungle Cakesy because of the theme and colours and stuff. Because there was an outside food court and all that. And then Alex comes out to me and he goes, we're in the wrong fucking building. So we just got into this event, just because he's a fucking celebrity. He just got in and we were in the wrong fucking place anyway. So we had to walk down the road, got into Jungle Cakes, had a really cool set. The setting was really cool. They had all this I can't really describe what the thing over the top of it was, a roof made of jungle leaves, right? And it was really cool. He met quite a few people. A lot of his fans wanted to get pictures with him and stuff, and it was just a really nice moment for our friends to see, because obviously I see it quite a lot. But it was nice. Everyone was like, oh my god, this is insane. And even Alex was like, you wait till we get to Nottingham, because that's an even bigger audience. So then we drove to Nottingham. On the way to Nottingham, we saw the most awful car crash. So we're driving on the motorway, and then I thought I kept seeing there was like a moment where like a few hundred yards in front of us, because it was like lit up motorway, it wasn't one of those dark ones at that point, like there were street lights, and I could see a ton of cars like moving, and I thought they were indicating because a lane had closed. You know, like when a lane closed on a road, they have those orange lights that are like the same colour as indicators, and you sort of move out that lane because the lane's closed. Well, that's what I thought I could see. So obviously I've moved over to the fast lane, and because I usually sit in like the middle lane when it's that late at night and there's not much traffic, and I just kept seeing like a few indicating lights, and I didn't really think about it until the next day that I'd seen that, because then I saw like I think it was someone in a van or a camper van just before whatever it was we were about to see, hold like his shirt up and flag us down like in panic. So obviously I'd slowed down because I'm just like, what the fuck? Like, is that a hitchhiker? Are they in need of help? Because we'd already drove past them at that point to be able to stop. And then as soon as we were all like, what the hell was that? We could just see like 6-7 cars involved in a huge car crash, all like in the first 2 lanes. Like there was 2 cars upside down. There was tons of people who had pulled over to help. Like it literally had just happened because there was no police, ambulance or nothing there. And obviously where it was so bad, that car that flagged us down before must have seen it and pulled over and tried to do something. And it was insane. Like we were just like, oh my God, like it made us all sort of like feel a bit emotional because we were just like, oh my God, like imagine if we was involved in that. Like that would have been so destroying because it could just be anyone. Like you never know whether that's one person in the car, someone and all their kids. You don't know whether it was a fault of the car or a fault of the driver. Like regardless of how or what happened, it's just not a nice thing to see. And then we got to Nottingham. Alex put us into the hotel we'd been in before because they had similar names. So I'm like calling his booking agent and I'm like, hey girl, I know you're busy, but can't get into the hotel. Anything we should say or do, because where they were, they had no signal. So it was like me and Alex were both trying to call someone because he was on in like 15 minutes, right? We had literally 15 minutes to figure this out. So luckily, his booking agent actually said to me, are you sure, like she said the name of the hotel, and I looked up at the sign and I thought, that's not quite the same word. Like, this is the hotel we stayed in before, and that's not the same as what she just said on the phone before she cut out because she had no signal. So then when she called back again, I just confirmed the name of it, and she's like, oh, no, it's a different one. And I'm like, oh my God, twice this guy has given me the wrong address today. What a melon. He never does that either. It just cracks me up when he does, because I just think, babe, just read it. But because it was so similar to the other name, obviously he just assumed it was the same one we stayed in before for another show. So we literally pegged it to the other one because it was only around the corner, and I'd already parked up and it's going to take us too long to go get the car, drive around, find a car parking space. We just pegged it, got into the hotel, dumped our shit, come out, and we both ran. And I mean, we do not run, okay? I'm asthmatic. I can't fucking run. So I'm running to this place, and I'm like, we literally like got something like 10 minutes till we're on. So what was a 7-minute walk become like a 2-minute run. We just pegged it. We were sweating. And then our pals had obviously gone to like booked rooms in the other hotel. So we were like, meet us there. So we got there, got straight in, and this venue was fucking huge. So trying to get to the green room and stuff like that. By the way, for people that don't know, a green room is a dressing room. It's just where the artists are located, and like that's just where they sit waiting for their sets and stuff like that. It's more like a peaceful environment. Sometimes it's not that peaceful. Sometimes it's just where everyone has fun in a smaller environment instead of in like a rave environment. But anyway, so we get onto the stage. We literally just go straight to the stage. We walk past the green room. We figured it all out. Go straight there. The woman gives us all wristbands. Best liaison ever. She just kept checking if we needed anything. Like I was like, for a set, he's gonna need water. She got him water. She literally brought a whole crate of water and his rider, which is like what they ask for their set. So most people just ask for like alcohol or just a nice drink of their choice. plus water. So she got all of that ready, and this place, we got onto the stage, and obviously our friends had never come to a set like that before, and it was insane. There must have been like 2,000-3,000 people there. It was fucking huge. Like, there was a balcony on top of the crowd, if that makes sense, full of more of the crowd. And it was a good crowd. Everyone was just buzzing. Everyone was having a great time. Everyone was singing the songs. Everyone was having a good rave. And then we'd got to the stage with like 4 minutes or 5 minutes left till his set. So that was such good timing. He didn't even have time to like get nervous or worry. He actually literally just get on stage, crack on, and he had the best crowd reaction. His current like trending track, which is like the most viewed right now, is literally got confetti, living like this, got like these like the loud I don't know if it's smoke or gas, I don't know what it is, but it's like something that just sort of like is like confetti but not confetti. It was fucking crazy, and it was so nice that all our friends see it. He had IC3 on set. It was so wild, and like all his friends were around, and the artists he's friends with, the artists and or everyone involved with them, like from the label, they were all involved, and they were all on stage, and everyone was having a good time. We were all just like so gassed for him. I lost my voice in that moment because, just before that moment, I think, just because 4 shows in a weekend makes you lose your voice. But it was fucking wild. It was so much fun. So proud of him. It was such a nice moment because where, like, in the beginning of his sets, he used to get really nervous. He used to not have a ton of confidence in performing, like almost a bit of shy, being a bit shy on stage. Whereas when I look at the crowd, I think, oh my God, how do you do that? Like, it would make me feel terrified. So, and I feel terrified when he's up there, you know, because I don't know, I've got the worst stage fright ever. I could never do something like that. So the fact he gets up there, gets his what he says the phrase, get your 2 legs up there and just do it. And he smashed it, and I'm so proud of him. So yeah, that was really fun. Sunday was, you know, he did his back-to-back with Kelvin from Born on Road on Sunday, and then went straight to Nottingham afterwards. He had a great time on Bring Your Friends to Work Day. But I just must say, like, cruise control in his car is so much fun. I feel like it's like a game. Like, you literally just set it up, and then when you need to brake, you just push it down a little. You just push the button a few times, and then speed up, you just type it up a little bit more. It's just effortless. I love it. I love it so much. And that is just something that I can't even put into words how good that show was. Like what a way to end 4 shows, you know? Like, it was building up and building up and building up and building up, and then just like that sort of reaction, performance, and all of the fucking confetti and shit. It was just so cool. And it was really nice, like, bringing our friends along to, like, experience it with him. Because he never really brings his friends to the bigger shows, just because, you know, he's only, like, he's done quite a few of them now, but, like, in the early days, he hadn't done many of them. So he was, like, he didn't want to I don't know how to describe it, but I wouldn't want to bring a ton of people through if I was really nervous, because then you just feel like you got to socialise with your friends and stuff. But now, like, he's more confident. He knows, like, he's confident with his set. He loves what he's doing. Like, he still gets nervous, obviously, but he's just enjoying it a lot more now. So that's really fun. So as you know from last week, I actually got given a confession, and I decided to use it as the topic of the day. So the confession I got was, how does someone with ASD get back to a social life? Now, I feel like this is something really important and something that not a lot of people get a chance to touch upon. It's something that people don't feel comfortable talking about. And every day, and I see it all over social media and online and in articles and stuff like that, more and more people are like pursuing diagnosis and going and actually asking someone, like, can I have some help? Which is amazing. Like, it's amazing so many people now feel like they can actually ask for help, because I know myself that I never felt that comfortable with it, and I know a ton of other people don't either. So that people are now willing to talk about it is just a fucking beautiful thing. It's beautiful. You should be so proud of yourself. It's very brave to do that. Now, just for the people that don't know, ASD is autistic spectrum disorder. Now, there is a fucking huge spectrum, okay? So not everyone is like at the beginning, the middle, or the end. Like, there's tons of different places you can be put on the spectrum. So I feel like my advice is going to be very vague. Just because, one, I haven't been diagnosed. I mean, my TikTok surely tells me I have it every day. However, I actually don't feel at peace with that, because I don't feel like I actually do stuff with that. I just feel like I have traits, so maybe a very smaller part of the scale. But when I was doing my research, I was like, oh, maybe that is me. But then I feel like that with a lot of other things. The only thing that really does make my mind settle and feel at peace with is BPD. There's nothing I felt so related to before. But with my research, like, I find it's very hard to diagnose because the research that's done on it is not enough. Like, they should be doing a ton of more research on it. And in girls as well, it's quite hard to diagnose. Whereas with boys, it's like, if you don't notice it from an early age, it's going to be really hard to notice as you get older, because you'll be having to continue pursuing. The doctor's like, no, I'm not just having a bad day. Like, I need someone to help me and feel at peace with what's going on in my mind and my actions. And I feel like the world nowadays, it evolves so much, but not everything keeps up with that. So like research, mental health, education and stuff like that, it doesn't keep up with all of the current social issues we have in this world. And when they don't keep up, it's like, well, now you've made it even harder for people to feel at peace and diagnose stuff, because I don't know, it's just the world we live in. Now, a lot of people I read online actually suggested, like, obviously your question is directly about the social environment and to have a social life again. So a lot of things I've read online suggest things like perhaps try and find local support groups so that you can find people who are alike and can help you understand how they've dealt with it and what their experiences are and what they've learned and not learned. But then again, if you don't want to do that, there are a lot of other things you can try. So me personally, and I don't think I have the same issue, okay? Like, I don't want to word this wrong. I don't think I can relate in the same way, is what I mean. But for me personally, I like to find the answers myself, because everyone can be wrong. Even I can be wrong, which is fucking surprising since I'm right all the time. But I like to find my own research. I like to dig fucking deep and find something that makes me feel like a sense of belonging. And that's what I did when I was learning about BPD. So I've always suffered with OCD. I didn't know I suffered with anxiety until I had the panic fucking issues. So like my health anxiety and panic attacks were like what made me realise that I actually had quite bad anxiety. But anxiety is also emotion. So it is something you experience. It's only a disorder when it's like related to something else, like health anxiety or a mental illness as such. Whereas anxiety alone is not a mental illness. It's actually an emotion. Because you get anxious, which I think is a completely natural human thing to feel. See, when I learned about, I was learning about bipolar, I was learning about a ton of personality disorder, because I knew it was something about a personality disorder. I knew that, because TikTok likes to tell me all the time, you're autistic and you have ADHD. When I learned about ADHD, I understand it and relate to it a lot more than with autism. Don't know why. But just when I'm learning about autism, I just don't feel like I relate to it in the same way they explain it. So I could be wrong. But with ADHD, I'm like, oh, that sounds like me. And then with BPD, I'll never forget when I was watching tons and tons of people give interviews and have therapy sessions. And I just went on a YouTube spiral. And there was this one girl, right, out of tons of these people, who really hit the nail on the head for me. And she was actually talking about her BPD in a relationship. And she is in a healthy and happy relationship, but she said in the beginning, this is what happened, and she was like, this is how I reacted, and I still don't think the way I react is wrong. Like, the way I am is the way I am. And the more in depth she got about it was quite a long interview, and she was discussing it with a board of like therapists. And I just thought, oh my God, everything you're saying is exactly how I feel. And I never felt that ever. No doctors made me feel like that. No book made me feel like that. And other videos also talking about the same thing didn't always make me feel like that. And other mental health disorders or issues, anything like that, I just felt like I could relate in ways, but I didn't feel at peace with it. Like, I was like, but then there's that, then there's that. And then with this one video, I thought, oh my God. And I had this huge realization, and I was like, okay, I know what it is now. And ever since I felt that peace with understanding myself, I can actually do research when I'm having these episodes and trying something new. And I've been working on it for a very long time now. I would say close to a year. And I have never felt so happy in my life. And don't get me wrong, I am in a very fortunate position where I have someone who loves me for who I am, who almost understands me completely. And he actively did his research, and he actively suggests things like, is this your emotions, or is this something you don't know why you're feeling that way, and stuff like that. And he really, like, you know, it's, if you want to be like social with someone but you want to be understood, it's so important that you have a communication about it, because I don't want it to feel like, for me personally, that my partner has to take responsibility and disregard certain things because of the way my personality is, because it's so up and down. It's so, like, I can't even explain it, but it definitely wouldn't seem healthy to other people. And I can come across as a fucking crazy bitch, basically. So, yeah, he does a really good job, and he cares about it. And when I speak about it, he's very open and willing to listen. And sometimes I talk about things, and he, like, sometimes I don't get the reaction I want. Sometimes he looks at me like I'm fucking crazy. And then I'm like, why are you looking at me like I'm fucking crazy? And he's just like, no, I'm just trying to understand. You know, sometimes that alone can trigger me. And then I think, well, actually, he is trying to understand. He does care. And communication is key. So talking about it between you both. Don't feel like you're being a parrot. Like, don't feel like you're constantly talking about something that you don't want to talk about, when the more you talk about it and the more you learn about yourself and the more you think, okay, I'm going to try this and see how that makes me feel. Because I'm telling you, it will make you feel 1,000 times better the more you work on it. And I don't feel like you're being self-centered. Don't feel like, oh my God, but the world's going to think this of me and the world's going to think that of me. Like, in the early days of me being like, okay, there's something wrong with me, right? It took me such a long time to be like, well, there's actually, like, just because I suffer with something doesn't mean there's necessarily something wrong with me. Like, what it is just I think differently to other people, and I can now put a label on it. And at first I used to think, oh my God, now like, I don't want to say it, but I have an excuse. Whereas it's not an excuse, it's just a truth. Like, you're just sharing your truth. And when people are having a conversation with you and they're like, that's an interesting way to think about it, you can just be like, well, I've suffered from this, and this, and I think this way because of this. And they're so understanding. Like, when I explained BPD to someone that was like, yeah, sure you do, they were like, oh my God, that actually makes sense. So BPD for me comes from like childhood trauma, things I've been through, other traumatic events in my life, not being loved and stuff like that. And a lot of things that I've gone through stem from, like, my OCD, the anxiety, the health anxiety, and so many things. So I can go into a real deep conversation about it. And when I come to that realization, like, I spend so much time consciously, like, thinking about, am I acting this way for a certain way? Like, why do I feel? Sometimes I sit, like, when I'm working, right? I could be working with someone, be in a really good mood all day. And then just, like, random point in the day, I'm just moody, silent for no reason. And some people think, like, oh, She's just a girl on her period. No, dude, that's not it, actually. I don't know why I'm acting like this. Like, I don't know. Nothing's wrong. And I can't explain it. When people are like, what's wrong? Nothing. Like, I've just switched off for a bit. Like, I can't explain it. I just feel like a different person right now. And then I might just, like, something could come up in conversation and it'll just bring me back to life. Like, I'm just a different person again. And, like, my partner said it to me before, like, as a joke, obviously. But he said to me before, oh, woke up this morning and you're this Jay. And woke up that morning and you're in this Jay today. Or, like, I sometimes go through a phase, like, I don't know, every now and again. I just love to wind him up and stuff like that. Whereas I don't do that all the time. Like, it's very random. And he's just like, oh, this Jay's here now. It's going to wind me up for a day. I really can't explain it in a way that makes sense to a lot of people. But, yeah, it's something that you definitely need to communicate, discuss, and please don't feel like you're a burden to anybody. When people don't give you the reaction you are expecting or want, it's because they don't understand. Whereas don't feel like you have to explain yourself, but if you want to be understood, I don't know if it's the best advice to give, but this is just what I do personally. I like to explain exactly what I'm thinking and feeling. And a lot of people don't like it, but they tend to respect it because people like the truth and they like honesty, even when they say they don't. Even if they act like they don't, in the long run they do. So be true to yourself, be as brave as you can, okay? Life is way too short, and I don't know if you've ever listened to the old people online or in person, wherever it is, and you say, what's the best advice you give someone? And they always say, take risks and be brave. Do life for you. Like, have the life you want to have, because you will regret it if you don't. And it's not like a pressure to put on yourself. It's just like, if you really think to like 10 years ago and you met a kid that was like your age 10 years ago, and they said, what do you think I should be like in school? You would say, be yourself. Do what you want to do. Explore different things. Try new things out. And then when you think about yourself now, you're like, oh, I can take that advice because of this and because of that and because of this and because of that. When really, you should be taking the same advice you give to a child. Like, be who you want to be. Follow your passions. Follow your dreams. To be in like a social circle, in regards to answering the question I was actually asked, like, you've got to be yourself and people will love you for who you are. And it might not feel like that right now, but they really, really will. And I promise you. And if people are like, oh, don't do that, or change this, or change that, well, then they don't fucking love you for who you are, and they're not your friend. And there's tons of us out there that will fucking love you for who you are. So bin them off. And I know people say, oh, it's hard to get rid of people. No, it's not actually. Block button is fucking easy to find. If you're not sure where it is, I'll fucking help you. Alright? Because you don't deserve to be around negative people who make you feel like shit and make you feel like what you suffer with is something that stops you and creates like burdens in your life when it doesn't. Just because you're slightly different, we're all fucking different. Like, no one is the same person. Everyone you look at and think, I wish I was normal like them, they ain't fucking normal. They've been through shit too. And the face they put on, they either give off their honest, authentic self or they put a mask on. And there is honestly no fucking in between. People put a mask on because that is how they have learnt to cope with what they've dealt with. That is how they have learnt to what did I just say? That is how they have learned to cope with what goes on in their mind. And I honestly strongly believe this. Like, nobody is ever going to be in your shoes because they are so busy dealing with their own shit. Like, I used to think things when I was younger. I used to think, oh, but what are they going to think about me? I bet they're thinking about what I'm wearing. I bet they're thinking about the way I laugh so loud and I'm embarrassing and I'm a weirdo and all this when I was a kid. And now I've really learned, like, when someone said it to me once, someone said, oh, I don't want you to think this of me, I don't want you to think that. And I just thought, oh my God, literally none of us give a shit. Like, none of us care about other people more than we care about ourselves. And that's not in a selfish way whatsoever. It's like an insecurity almost. Like, we all think about the way we are, the way we act, and the older I've got, and especially because I've become so self-aware of myself, I actually just don't give a shit now. I'm just like, I am the way I am. And then when it causes conflict or when it causes someone anything, I am willing to be like, have a conversation, explain how I feel, understand and listen how they feel. If you want to try and meet new people, I think to go to a social environment, whether that's friendships, dating, they're all relationships at the end of the day. You want to build a relationship. When you first meet up with someone, you can go to an environment where you're comfortable or outside your comfort zone, like try something new. If something outside your comfort zone, so if you don't like clubbing, but you go clubbing and you just aren't enjoying yourself, walk up to people, have a chat. Like, you know, if you're unsure about how to create conversation, compliments always. And don't always give compliments based on what people look like. I feel like, oh, and he fucking choked on my dry throat. But I feel like compliments on the way someone looks is a good, like, starter of a conversation. So sometimes, if I know someone, it's a bit different because you can be like, how are you and stuff like that. But if you've never met someone, you can be like, hi, are you having a good night? Or you could be like, are you having a good day? Are you enjoying this? Or what are you drinking? Or what did you order, like food-wise? Or you could be like, your hair's really cool. I like your shoes. I like your bag. You know, I like your outfit. Where's your jacket from? Where's your jeans from? Where did you get that belt from? Like, anything like that, I think is a really good way to start a conversation. There are obviously loads of other ways because it depends on what you're interested in. So if you're interested in like gaming and you go to like a gaming thing, you could be like, oh, have you played this? Have you got this game? Like, what do you like? I'm trying to have a conversation about gaming like I know what I'm talking about. I'm not a gamer, so I actually don't know what it's like going to gaming conferences and stuff like that. But when I'm a drinker. I mean, I'm not really that much of a drinker now, but I always have been. I've always been a raver. So I always start conversations based on, like, whether I think someone's hair's really nice, they've got nice eyes, or they've got, like, a really nice outfit on, nice shoes. And then you can get to know someone, like, where are you from? What do you do for a living? What are your interests? Like, what do you like to do? Or, like, do you like this kind of music? Like, if you could go anywhere in the world, like sometimes throwing wild questions at people really intrigues them because you could be like, if you could do anything for a day, what would you do? Or if you could go anywhere in the world for a week right now, where would you go? And stuff like that. It really gets conversations going. And I also find that when you are meeting someone and you're trying to build a relationship, you have to learn to be a good listener. And it can be really hard. Like, me personally, when I first meet people and I'm having a conversation, I've asked a question and I already know what I want to ask them next. Like, I already have in my mind, like, they're telling me the answer and I'm thinking, where did they get that jacket from? Where did they get that jacket from? Where did they get that jacket from? Like, I'm trying to remember exactly what I'm thinking because I don't want my mind to go blank. Whereas if you just let it flow naturally, you ask them a question, you listen, you let them talk. And then you can actually have a conversation about the question you've had, like given or asked. And then they'll ask you something. And then that's how conversations work. You speak, listen, speak, listen. And I know that sounds like super basic, but so many of us, including me, fail to do this. And I find it really hard. Like, I hate it when people talk over me, but when I feel like I haven't finished saying what I wanted to say, I naturally talk over people. And I always know I'm doing it. Like, I always know I'm talking over someone because I know how much I fucking hate it. But if I don't say it, I just feel like my head's gonna fucking explode. Like, I literally feel like, oh my God, like, I just need to say it. And sometimes, like, when me and my partner have a bicker or we argue about something, I'll be like, don't talk over me. And then I will proceed to talk over him. And he's just like, oh, I just did the hand gesture. Like, what the fuck? But obviously this is audio, not a video. But yeah, so honestly, take my advice. Learn to be a better listener. because that is something that is going to help you build relationships and meet new people, because you could get to know someone and realise, you're not actually someone I want in my circle of friends. And that's completely okay. I think meeting people and interacting with people will grow your people skills, grow your confidence, and you never know. They could be like, oh my God, there's someone, like, nice to see you. I've got someone that I'd like you to meet because they think you're more similar. And people are so nice like that. You just have to open your mind and open your heart to these kind of situations. Basics like dating wise, if you want to meet someone in a social way for going on dates and stuff, my advice would be yourself. Don't change who you are, because people will always find out who you are in the end. So always be your authentic self. It's the basic things like dress nicely, so wear the fashion you feel the most comfortable in. But like if you're going on a date, wear like your nicer version of your comfy fashion. Basic hygiene, so like make sure you brush your teeth, do a nice moisturiser on the face, have a shower prior, maybe brush your hair. If you've got like a creased shirt or whatever, give that an iron. Things like, for me, if I was to go dating now, I feel like good table manners is quite important. Some table manners I'm really dire at though. So like, I always put my elbows on the table, and apparently that's like really bad, but just I always have. And I feel uncomfortable if I don't, but just worth trying, because I always think about it when I'm doing it. I think, oh, why is my elbow on the table? And then I always try and convince myself that if I lay my arm down with my elbow on the table, that it's like less of a bad manners, but it's still bad manners because your right elbow's still on the table. So things like that, like chew quietly, maybe don't pick up your pasta bake with your hands. It sounds silly, but obviously some things you can eat with your hands, like a burger or pizza. Although, just a side note, has anybody else seen people eat pizza with a knife and fork? You alright? I'm just saying, are you okay? Eat that shit with your hands. But anyway, who am I? Yeah, so back to what I was saying. Don't be afraid of giving compliments. Don't give too many, and don't focus on someone's appearance. So be like, compliment their personality, the way they think, because it intrigues you and stuff like that. Ask questions, share your interests, always listen. Think of questions before your encounter, because if your mind goes completely blank or you get like a overload in your mind, if you just think there's a few things I want to know when I meet someone, like as a friend, a partner, any kind of relationship, you can be like, what are your interests? What do you do in your spare time? Where would you like to go on the weekend? If you could go anywhere, where would you go? Like stuff like that. If you have questions lined up in your mind, that's how you narrow down whether you want to be involved with this person. That's worth trying. And just let things happen naturally. Stop worrying about how things are going. Like when you're having a social interaction, like if you think, oh my God, I'm being awkward, or oh my God, I laughed like that, or oh my God, I'm not saying enough. Like stop worrying about what's happening right now. Just enjoy the present moment, because learning to be comfortable with silences is so important. And I found that really hard for a really long time too. I find it so hard to be bored. Whereas I'm starting to learn that being bored is a good thing. Like, I've always found it so hard to just sit there and do nothing. Like, I have to do something. I vape 24/7 and I go on my phone and I just scroll. Sometimes I just scroll on TikTok for the fact I just want to move my fingers. Like, I literally don't even watch half the videos. And then some of them catch my eye. Like, at the minute, I'm a bit obsessed with the Johnny Depp case. I got a bit bored of watching it on YouTube though, so I just like the videos on TikTok and it comes up with all the Johnny Depp stuff. So I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Fuck Amber Heard and all that. I just want to say to anybody listening, Amber Heard can fuck off. We don't accept her into the BBD community because she's a narcissistic actress. And everything she said about the abuse of Johnny Depp, everyone can find quotes from it from literally other scripts. So fuck off, Amber Heard. But anyway, back to what I was saying. I really hope I could give you more advice on social situations when you've learned about a diagnosis you've had. But I really hope I've given like some good advice that you can try and follow up on and try, and it's all about trial and error, and everything you do, you've got to like enjoy it in the moment and try your best to actually experience it, and then give yourself 24 hours to process it. So after an encounter, you can think, okay, how do I feel about that? Because you can worry for the first 12 hours, like, oh my God, I did this, I did that, and then you think, well, actually, it didn't go so bad. And if you're ever unsure, give the person a call or give them a text and be like, hi, it was nice to meet you. Do you fancy doing this sometime, like going for a coffee or going to get a takeaway or something like that? And people are really nice. People love building new connections, and it's definitely worth trying and getting yourself out there. You're so brave for giving me this to create as a topic, and I thank you so much. You can determine where you want to go if you're unsure about destinations. I know a lot of us have like sensory overloads. I know that a lot of sounds can really affect a lot of us. Like, say for instance, I am in a restaurant and I can just hear a white noise. It completely distracts me from conversation. So somewhere smaller, like a walk in the park, or more of like a silent environment, you can try and arrange for something like that for your next encounter with someone. But if you'd like any more advice, please let me know. If you feel like I haven't answered what you've asked in your confession in Jay's voicemail, please get in touch, because I don't want to misunderstand anything from anybody, and I just want to give my very best advice from my own experiences, even if I haven't experienced the same thing as you, because I feel like we're all human, we all make mistakes, and we're all worth giving each other a go and trying to understand one another, because we're not all that different than what people think we are. And trust me, I've always felt like nobody understood me. Everyone's so different, and it's only in this recent year I have met so many people like me. Well, not a ton of people, but people who are open to speak about it. And when I share how I feel and my experiences, people listen more now and they're willing to understand. But well done so much for reaching out. I'm so happy that you did, and thank you so much for helping me provide this information for not only yourself but for other people as well. If you ever want to talk about it, my DMs are open all the time, and I honestly feel like I'm happy to be there for you and chat to you as and when you need it, because you're not alone and you shouldn't ever feel like you are. If anybody else would like to provide for Jay's voicemail, because no one wanted to this week, for any confessions, questions, or anything you'd like advice on, please DM podcast.j on Instagram. I also have a Facebook, or send me a text message if you have my number. But I love you guys so much. Thank you so much. I hope you have the best day, the best week, and let me know whether you prefer the episodes to come out on Fridays or Thursdays. Bye.